Okay guys, today is day 110 trying to make $1 million. Let's go, today is day 110. I've been fighting for my dreams during 110 days. Whoa bro, that's a lot and I'm starting again. I'm posting a daily vlog. I'm vlogging my life every day. So the goal is to post daily during 365 days because I'm trying to post constantly. I try to post constantly, but I don't know, bro. I don't know why, but every time I try to be constant, everything goes like, okay, I'm going to post one video, I'm going two videos, and I'm going to go live, I'm going to build my business, I'm going to create a website, I'm going to do this and this, and at the end of the day I ain't doing nothing, absolutely nothing. So that's the reason I decided to start again. I started on April 16th, 2026, and since that I've been posting every single day, blogging my life every day. So for today we're going to continue watching the previous video from the previous stream. The video for the previous stream. Let me share screen with you, but first of all, let me show with you these guys, because right now we are 274 subscribers. 274. Okay. I already damaged the book once, and let me show you. This happens. This. You see? And this in the other side. In the back. Bro. Incredible. What am I doing, bro? Okay, we are going to make $1 million because I want $1 million for 2027. But the truth is, I don't even know how to make $1 million. The only thing I know is that I have to build my personal brand, start making some money from YouTube, and I need to be constant. The three things I know: build my business brand and personal brand, be constant, and start making money with YouTube, and also start making money with my running shoe brand, Big Way. So I need to start selling running shoes right now. I'm participating on in an event called the Fondec. In this event, the government help entrepreneurs to start their business. So I'm applying, and they told me that I can gain approximately $1,500 if I win, and they give me the help. So right now I'm applying to this event, and for now we're going to watch a video by Alex or by by Steve Jobs. Just kidding. We're going to watch a video by Simon Squibb. Let me share screen. Okay. Everything get dark. Good. when I press that button. Wait, wait.
La venta no se empuja, la venta se...
Okay, let's go. In the previous stream, we learned first start a business with no money. Just start with what you love doing. Execution plan. Your purpose is strong. And build a brand, not a business. These are the important points. The most important point that we learned in the previous stream was build a brand, not a business. The most powerful thing you have right now is your brand, not your business. Because if you made good marketing, good associations, you build a strong brand, no matter what you sell, you already have something powerful. So build a brand, not a business. Another important lesson that we learned from Simon Squibb was don't let things own you. What does that mean? That means that don't let money, don't let luxury cars, don't let a phone or a video game, I don't know, own you. You need to own the things. Don't let things own you. So that was an important lesson that we learned. Sell the sizzle, not the stock. And understand your customer. We were in this part.
Get to know them. The second step in this 3-step process to get any sales done is understand the person you're working with in the context of, do you like them? This element of sales...
Wait, I need something important. Wait. Okay, I'm back. The pen and the Sharpie. You need to take notes, guys. The most important thing you can do right now is taking notes. Taking notes help you to be organized, to organize your business. Helps you a lot, and writing helps you to know what to do next. Because if you just learned and never take notes and never apply, nothing is going to change. You need to write, apply, and that's how you go forward. That's how you grow. That's how you create a real business. Applying. Dream big, start small, but most of all, start. You can start right now writing down all the important things you learn.
So powerful. If you can have a real connection with the person you're selling to, a genuine connection, not a fake connection, it is something that will help you get through all sorts of difficult times in that relationship. You need to like each other. You need to genuinely like each other. And if you meet someone who needs what you need, but they don't like you and you don't like them, one, the sale probably won't go ahead. But even worse, the sale might go ahead. Then you'll be working with someone that doesn't like you and you don't like them. If they're rude, they're abrupt, you go out for dinner, they're rude to the waiter, if it doesn't appeal to you, drop them. Do not work with these people. It might be hard, you might want the revenue, but I promise you, you will not build a business that will last if you sell to the wrong people. So, first step, do they need you? Do you need them? Second step, do they like you? Do you like them? If you do these two things well, the final step, and let's call it the deal, it will happen. Because if they like you and they need you, they will work with you to make a deal happen. I have done enormous deals every single time in my career. I've done the first two steps right, it's no problem. In fact, I have said how much I would like for, say, example, a contract, and that client's come back to me and given me even more, told me the budget, given me insight into how to make sure we get the work. So it's so important to not just go in there cold with what you've got to sell, but go in there understanding the person and making sure it lasts. If you follow these 3 steps, I promise you, you'll get every single sale done. Now, there's one more final thing I want to tell you about sales. You've got to think long term. There was a study done by Harvard. They analysed the best salespeople in the world. And the top 50 salespeople in the world would, on average, approach someone to get a deal done 5 times. They would send them an email, for example, and then a few weeks later they'd send them a follow-up email, and then maybe they'd send them a brochure or contact them through social media. They would basically contact maximum of 5 times before they would actually consider that lead dead. And that was their mistake. And we're talking about the leading salespeople. But the top 1% of salespeople, which it turns out I am one of these people. I didn't know it at the time, I now know it looking at the research. The top 1% of salespeople do something very different. When I started Fluid, I wrote down all 50 companies that I wanted to work with in the building of this business. And there were big names on there. And from day one, I built a system to reach out to them by hook or by crook in some way every single month. For example, at Christmas, I would wish them a Merry Christmas, send them a card. Chinese New Year, I'd send them something. When I learned something about their industry that I thought could be useful to them, a bit of research, I would send it to them. I would always make sure that every single month I made contact with them in some way, not to sell necessarily, but to build a relationship, to get to know what their needs were. In some cases, I got those clients quite quick, but in the majority of the businesses, it took me, for example, 9 years to get some of those companies on board. Every single month for 9 years, I would approach those companies. And that's the secret to it. It's a long game. You have to apply yourself, build a system in sales that lasts. It cannot be one email, they don't reply, or one email and they say no. You've got to keep staying in contact with them. Building things like email lists are still very powerful. No, it's not as cool these days as being popular on TikTok. But I promise you, having an email list where you can contact that person regularly, keep an update of what you're doing, keep up to date with what they're doing, will ensure a sale at some point in the future, as long as you're politely persistent. I promise you, you follow these rules in sales, your life will change. I would add, in sales, people don't bring their personality into the mix enough. You've got to be yourself, be honest, be authentic. In sales, it's not about selling someone a car that doesn't work. That is bullshit. That is how people are projecting what sales looks like. Sales is about selling someone a car they actually need. I have seen in my own life, when I've gone to buy a car, the best salespeople tell me, you don't want this car, you want that car, in another showroom where they don't get the commission. I've actually had that happen. And when I saw that happen, I hired that person, because that person is thinking long term. They're not trying to sell me a car to make the commission. They're building a relationship with me, and that is what you need to do to be successful in sales. Next up,
think long
how to
term.
market.
But I want to rewatch
That is
this
bullshit.
part.
That is how people are projecting what sales looks like. Sales is about selling someone a car they actually need. I have seen in my own life when I've gone to buy a car, the best salespeople tell me, you don't want this car, you want that car, in another showroom where they don't get the commission. I've actually had that happen. And when I saw that happen, I hired that person. Because that person is thinking long term. They're not trying to sell me a car to make the commission. They're building a relationship with me, and that is what you need to do to be successful in sales.
Okay.
Next up, how to market. This is a deep subject, but I'm going to try and give you all the knowledge I've gained
How to
in
market.
decades of building some of the most complicated marketing structures there is. Now, marketing is one of the most important pieces in making a business work. And when I think about this subject, it's so complicated. I honestly think, because I know everything about this subject, it's like rocket science. I will start off perhaps by teaching you that in marketing, 50% of what you spend will probably be wasted. So if you've got 1 million views but the wrong views, it's wasted. So marketing is about really experimenting. Now, I mentioned earlier when talking about sales, sell the sizzle, not the steak. Of course that applies in
That
marketing
was
too.
what I was talking about. Sell the sizzle, not the steak.
But marketing is actually about connecting with people over time. The biggest example is branding. If you get the branding right, people will resonate. You're probably a victim of this. You would rather buy an Apple than an X other brand, right? You've become a victim of good marketing. And when, for example, the iPod launched, product, people all thought the product did the selling, it was such a good product, that's why it did so well. No, when they launched the iPod, they spent more money marketing that product than any company had ever spent on marketing a product ever. Marketing is not one thing. Marketing is a complex structure combining PR, brand messaging, product market fit. If you don't know product market fit, I can cover this later, but basically you've got to make sure that the people you're talking to will resonate to the product that you're selling or the service that you're selling. And marketing, in my opinion, is actually number one thing. It's understanding who your customer is. Now, often in business build, you'll see businesses focus on niches to start with. Now, it doesn't have to stay in that niche, but it's a great place to start. So Facebook, for example, it started off in universities. And by connecting people in universities, of course, now it became connected to everybody all over the world. But they understood their customer. They knew what that customer was looking for. And in the early days of Facebook, they put a feature on there called single or available. I can't remember the exact terminology, but they basically created a feature that let you know if that person was in a relationship or not. And that was designed to help the university students understand the dynamics between their fellow
You need to
university
create
students.
an avatar.
And so they knew their market audience and they then marketed that feature. People would then go around saying, did you see Sarah? She's suddenly single. And that would be the marketing for their product. They built a tool in the platform.
That's
became
what I'm
people
trying
spoke
to do.
about, that
I'm
created
trying to
the
create
marketing
my
for you.
avatar with
And
this
in-
document. Let's open Google Docs. So I'm using this document to create my avatar, to know who my customer is.
My opinion, that's the holy grail of marketing.
To
And this
know
brings
who
me
is
on
my
to
customer.
point two.
Because the
I call
question-
this the staircase philosophy.
So I'm using that document to understand who is my customer. Who my customer is, I have this document. To know who my customer is. So right now I know who is my customer.
So the best way for me to teach you this is to tell you what I have recently done. So, weirdly, a few months ago, a staircase came up for sale in London. It's the first time a staircase had ever been for sale in London. It's ridiculous. And I heard it on the news that this staircase was for sale. And I told my brain instantly, we're going to buy it. Now, I didn't have an exact plan of what I was going to do with the staircase, but what I knew was that staircase symbolized something for my business, which was step by step, you can get anywhere you want. But also, I knew I could newsjack. That staircase was a sensation. People didn't know why someone was selling a staircase. And 2 days after hearing it on the news, I owned it. I spent £26,000 buying it at auction, and then we did a couple of clever things that hopefully symbolize how marketing works. First up, as soon as we bought the staircase, the news channels that had reported it was for sale jumped on us. I knew they would. And they wanted to know why we had bought a staircase. And that gave us an opportunity to get on the front page of the New York Times, on the front page of the BBC, in every single newspaper around the world. Millions of US dollars worth of coverage for our platform because we bought a staircase. It doesn't seem relevant, but doing these wild things, these crazy things, can actually make a huge difference. One of the things that I always loved in marketing was when flash mobs were a thing. And what happened was suddenly you'd get a whole shopping mall, people would start dancing, and everyone would wonder what it was, right? That is brilliant marketing. Now, it might not sell your product exactly in that exact moment, but over time, it allows you to have a reach and expansion and uniqueness to you that will help you stand out, because that's what it's about. It's about standing out. So by buying the staircase, we then evolved it. We got all this PR, millions of dollars worth of free PR for a staircase. Then we put a doorbell at the bottom of that staircase, and we said, if you've got a dream, press a button. We'll then upload your dream to our 4 million following and get you free exposure. Well, that
Simon as well told that story in his book, What's Your Dream? It's an amazing story. How we create whole bank. I think that in this book, I remember that he's playing how he create whole bank. I guess I'm not sure, but I remember that. But was in that book? Was in this book, or I heard that story somewhere else? I think that the story of the doorbell and Hellbank, it's also in this book, but I'm not sure. But it's an amazing book. I highly recommend you this book, guys, because you learn about business, you learn how to create a business, how to fire people, why 7 plus L plus 8 equals trouble, or something like that, a concept, something like that. 7 plus 8 equals trouble. Why 3 is a magical number. You learn a lot. You learn a lot from this book. I learned a lot from this book, and you realize what's your dream. What's your dream, and why purpose is important. It's important.
What the press needed to do.
Why
a follow-up
purpose is
story on it.
important.
Once you bought the staircase, what did you do with it? And they wrote all about that. But also, we built a whole new way of helping people on the back of a staircase that was for sale. I knew it symbolized helping people step by step. And then the final step in marketing, we all need partners. Marketing isn't about promoting something on your own. We then want to get a partner like Ring Doorbell or Amazon, who own Ring Doorbell, on board to sponsor the doorbell, to sponsor the staircase, to help us reach even more people. And then suddenly they pay for our marketing. And so marketing isn't a standalone thing. Marketing isn't a non-living organic product. You have to see it as living. You have to see it as evolving, and you have to see it as something that you do that pushes the envelope. Now, marketing is connected to sales. If you have a sales team, in a way, when they ring someone up, how they speak to someone, how they treat someone, that is also marketing. That's brand marketing. However that person receives your phone call, receives your interaction with them will affect your brand. And that is marketing. Nike, for example, how do they do marketing? Well, they endorse the very best athletes in the world. Of course, in some cases, they make shoes with those very successful athletes. They are lining themselves up with these people that are incredibly successful. What does Apple do? Apple links to creative people. So therefore, everybody wants to have some sort of creativity in their life, beauty in their life. So they buy the product they think is for the creative people, right? IBM Notebook was a better product, but people didn't want that. It didn't symbolize something cool and sexy and creativity. So I think marketing is about, again, similar to sales, selling the sizzle, but it's also about understanding who your customer is, how to reach that niche, and then how to work with that niche to expand into the wider world if you want to scale. It's the staircase method. What's your staircase? What's going to make you stand out? How can you evolve that thing that makes you stand out and go even further? Number 3 is systems. When you're doing marketing, it is such an overwhelming thing. There's so many different ways you can do it. You can do email marketing. You can do social media. You can do PR. You can do branding. You can do events. I mean, the list never ends. So how do you decide which one to do? Well, first of all, whatever you do, you've got to build a system to do it. So if it is email marketing, then you have a good data collection system. You have a good data management system.
When I started creating content, my problem was that I don't have any system. I don't have a content calendar. I don't have a schedule to edit my videos, a schedule to know when to edit my videos, when to post my videos, what videos, what topics I'm going to talk about. I don't have a schedule, and that was my problem. And I don't have a system. I don't have a content laboratory. I don't have a... If you don't know what a content laboratory is where you analyze what is working on your videos, why this video have this retention, or why this video is not working, and you try to replicate the things that works.
And then you have a good way of pushing out the
You
content
need
to
systems.
that database.
You need
and whatever
systems,
one of these
guys.
things you do, if you do all of them or you do one of them, do them well. Do not do all of them and all of them badly. I see so many people with on their website, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram links, and then you click through to them and they're dead. You're better off doing one well. Now, I think marketing is something where you should spread your bet. You want to do many different ways, what I call entrances into your business. You want to do many of them as you can. But do not overstretch yourself. It's better to do one platform on social media really well than try and spread yourself thin. But if you set up a system for doing your social media, there is a chance you can do all of them well with the same amount of resources doing one of them well. So for example, on my social media, I have one core video and then we edit it in-app for each of the channels. So we don't have to record separate videos for each of the channels, but we do in-app edit them so they're actually tailored to that particular platform's nuances, be it their font or their image. So you can actually set up a system to do all of these marketing things. But the key, of course, is not only just systems, but making sure you pick what works for you. Now, when it comes to marketing, one of the big mistakes I see people get taught is marketing is about having the staircase only. It's not about having the staircase only. It is about applying what you like to do as a founder, or maybe what your team likes to do, into your marketing strategy. As an example, if you don't like talking on camera, that's not your thing. As long as you're not hiding away from learning something new and you genuinely don't like to do it, but, for example, you love to write, then doing an email marketing strategy is probably right for you. Posting on LinkedIn is probably the correct platform for you. Sure, you'll hear people talking about how good TikTok is and how much benefit they got from it, but it doesn't work for you. It's not sustainable for you. It's not something you're going to enjoy. And marketing is something fun. This is something I want you to take away. No one talks about it, but marketing is meant to be fun. I took my son to buy that staircase. We had a laugh. Once we got the staircase, we had a laugh cleaning it up. We had a laugh putting a blimp on top of it. We had a laugh putting a doorbell on the front of it. We enjoyed the whole bloody thing. And if you don't enjoy it, what's the point? Marketing is about enjoying it. That's why I see brands do well. I'll give you an example. Starbucks marketing in the early days was two things. First, they would take good locations, sometimes quite close to each other. So instead of getting a billboard advertising Starbucks, they'd open up another Starbucks. And even if it was loss-making, as long as it wasn't more expensive in its loss than a billboard, they were better off having a store. Then people could have the experience. They never did any billboards. It's changed now, and I would argue it's not as good a brand anymore, but they opened up locations. That was one of their marketing strategies. The second thing that they did that was really clever is they looked after their staff, which sounds really obvious, doesn't it? But they did. They talk about their staff as partners. The baristas are partners. In some respects, the internal training manual talked about their baristas as the customer. And it worked. In the early days of Starbucks, to say what you like about them today, but in the early days of Starbucks, when I used to walk in there, a barista would know my name, they'd know what drink I wanted, and they were just working for Starbucks, but they cared because they were looked after. They were given medical care, for example. They were given full-time medical care even if they were part-time staff. They were given insurance and looked after, and they were given days off if they didn't feel very well. They were looked after. And I think that this is also part of marketing. It might not sound it, but if your people don't represent you, then good luck making everything else represent you, because those people will create all the things that represent you. So do include fun into your business. Do look at the nuances of your business and figure out what is going to be your staircase, and ultimately apply your marketing love to something that's sustainable, that's going to be enjoyable, that's going to be able to actually deliver the very thing that you want it to deliver, which I think should always be the promise of a better
marketing. The most important lesson that I receive in this part is marketing is meant to be fun. So wow, I need to enjoy doing marketing.
future for your customers. Next up, how to PR your business. Now, some of these things are interconnected, and sales and marketing all connect to how to get PR. But I'm going to give you some hacks and some insights in how PR works. And it is quite a complicated subject, but it's something, if you get right, can be a game changer for your business. Now, first up, I'll say getting PR has to be very targeted. I know plenty of people that have got PR for the money they've raised in their company, and it will go out to platforms like I Know Your Business. Now, first up, but it's something, if you get right, can be a game changer for your business. Now, first up, I'll say getting PR has to be very targeted. I know plenty of people that have got PR for the money they've raised in their...
Okay, in this point, how to market. We'll learn 2 lessons. You need to know who your customer is. You need to build a staircase. We need partners and see marketing as a living, as evolving. And the 3rd point was building systems. Email, social, events. Marketing is meant to be fun. So the next step is how to PR your business. Okay.
company, and it will go out to platforms like TechCrunch. It will make them feel good, but it had no impact on their business other than to make them feel good, which is fine, I guess. But I do think PR should be more strategic. I'd rather spend time reaching the press and actually getting a tangible result and not just playing to ego. So recently, for example, I was featured on the BBC News. They talked about what we were doing at the doorbell where people could pitch their dreams, and this led to hundreds of people finding out about it, going to our staircase, pitching their dream and helping them make their dream happen. Now that, in my opinion, is targeted marketing. Equally, I have done recently an article in a business journal that got 0 reaction. Now, I was proud to be in the business journal. I don't want to say which one it is so I don't insult them, but ultimately it actually led to no value as far as what I wanted to do, which is help people do what they love and make sure people know there's a service out there for free to help them do what they love. So PR is very important to be targeted. And so I'll write that down first. Now, targeting can also be subjective. Because a bit like marketing itself and sales, of course, sometimes you do need to cast the net wide and get as much coverage as you can. But if you do start to target your actual needs, it's much easier to get PR. I'll give you an example. If, for example, you want to let people know that you are now selling cherries on the side of the street, the best thing to do is get some PR in the local area that you live. Now, as much as it might be nice to say you've started a cherry farm selling cherries on the side of the street to make that farm work, probably could get you in a mainstream news channel, it won't necessarily lead to sales in the location in which you sell those cherries. So targeting and understanding exactly who you're trying to reach is actually the key. And it's more likely that if you are selling cherries in East Sussex, the East Sussex Times will cover you. It's more relevant, more chances of actually getting the PR than, say, for example, the BBC covering it, because it's not necessarily going to be that interesting. You could spend a lot of time and money reaching those people and then not cover you. The second thing I'll teach you about PR is journalists are lazy. So if you understand this and understand if you provide everything for them.
Okay, at this point I get lost. I need to rewatch this part.
Next
to
up,
understand
how to PR
this.
your business. Now, some of these things are interconnected, and sales and marketing all connect to how to get PR.
I don't know what's the meaning of PR. Public relations. For your business means strategically managing information to shape public perception, build credibility, and foster a positive reputation. Oh, okay, perfect.
Give you some hacks and some insights in how PR works. And it is quite a complicated subject, but it's something, if you get right, can be a game changer for your business. Now, first up, I'll say getting PR has to be very targeted. I know plenty of people that have got PR for the money they've raised in their company, and it will go out to platforms like TechCrunch. It will make them feel good, but it had no impact on their business other than to make them feel good, which is fine, I guess. But I do think PR should be more strategic. I'd rather spend time reaching the press and actually getting a tangible result and not just playing to ego. So recently, for example, I was featured on the BBC News. They talked about what we were doing at the Doorbell, where people could pitch their dreams, and this led to hundreds of people finding out about it, going to our staircase, pitching their dream and helping them make their dream happen. Now that, in my opinion, is targeted marketing. Equally, I have done recently an article in a business journal that got zero reaction. Now, I was proud to be in the business journal. I don't want to say which one it is so I don't insult them, but ultimately it actually led to no value as far as what I wanted to do, which is help people do what they love and make sure people know there's a service out there for free to help them do what they love. So PR is very important to be targeted. And so I'll write that down first. Now, targeting can also be subjective, because a bit like marketing itself and sales, of course, sometimes you do need to cast the net wide and get as much coverage as you can. But if you do start to target your actual needs, it's much easier to get PR. I'll give you an example. If, for example, you want to let people know that you are now selling cherries on the side of the street, the best thing to do is get some PR in the local area that you live. Now, as much as it might be nice to say you've started a cherry farm selling cherries on the side of the street to make that farm work, probably could get you in a mainstream news channel, it won't necessarily lead to sales in the location in which you sell those cherries. So targeting and understanding exactly who you're trying to reach is actually the key. And it's more likely that if you are selling cherries in East Sussex, the East Sussex Times will cover you. It's more relevant, more chances of actually getting the PR than, say, for example, the BBC covering it, because it's not necessarily going to be that interesting. You could spend a lot of time and money reaching those people and then not cover you. The second thing I'll teach you about PR is journalists are lazy. So if you understand this and understand if you provide everything for them, then they don't need to do any work. You're more likely to get the press coverage. So what I always do is I actually write the press release like it's the actual story you want written, with a good headline that makes them happy that they're not selling you, because that's journalists don't want to write and sell you, they want to write something that's interesting for the reader. So making a good subject line that's good for the reader, making the story good for the reader, I do all the work for the journalist. And then things like photos, I take high resolution photos and I send them with the press clip to make sure they've got everything they need. All they have to do is say yes to the story and then put their own touch on it. Job done. They're human beings. They want to go out for lunch if they can. So if you can make it possible for them to go out for lunch and do their job, then you will win in PR. Too many people are lazy. They send press releases that are generic and they don't tailor it to the journalist they're writing to. So the other thing you need to do is research that journalist. Back to the targeting, you need to understand what that journalist writes about, what that journalist is interested in, and almost write in their style if you want that particular journalist to write about you. The third thing on PR I'll tell you is, there is a lot of companies out there that will tell you they can get you PR. Please be careful. Now, as much as it might be nice to just pay someone to do this, I have discovered doing the PR yourself, especially if you're a small business, can pay huge dividends. Why? Because you can make a relationship direct with the journalist. And how do you find these journalistic contacts? That's what the PR companies tell you they've got. You can go through a newspaper and find them. You can Google them. You'll find them quite quick. And one big hack I'll give you is Twitter in particular is really good to get hold of journalists. If you start following the journalists...
Wait. Twitter in particular is good for what?
Twitter in particular is really good to get hold of journalists.
To get hold of journalists.
If you start following the journalists that you want to write about you and you start engaging on their posts, I would say that's one of the best ways to start building up a relationship with a journalist. Most people will reply to comments or read a comment that you've made on one of their posts. And weirdly enough, often journalists don't have big followings and they don't actually have a lot of comments. So you can start making a relationship, start commenting on something. If they post something about global warming and you've got a product that's helping reduce global warming, then you will get noticed if you start commenting on a story they've done about it. Start being part of their thinking when it comes to, I need someone to help me write this story. I need someone to give me a quote to make this story better. Start becoming part of that journalist's life. And it starts with just following them on Twitter or replying to one of their comments, engaging on one of the stories they've already written. Even online, things like Daily Mail, the journalists will read the comments on their own story. So engage. Engage is the number one thing I can tell you when it comes to getting PR from journalists. And finally, I have been involved in many conversations where I know brands have not worked with someone because they saw on someone's social media that they posted something obscene or rude or stupid. Remember, you as a business owner will always be the number one PR engine. Whatever you post up, be conscious, be careful. Think about your brand, think about the image that you're projecting. And I can't tell you enough how important this is. Because if you do the first few things I've just mentioned, you connect with the press, you know who you're targeting, and you're not lazy, you help them do it. If a journalist sees that you are out of control or inappropriate, they will not risk their job to write about you. So learn to be disciplined. Learn to be the brand. PR starts with one person having respect for you. So make sure you're disciplined. Don't be lazy yourself for you. So make sure you're disciplined. Don't be lazy yourself.
Okay.
Next up, one of my favorite subjects, one of the questions I get asked the most, how to get an investor. Learning how to get an investor can dramatically change.
Okay. At this point, nothing is working. 0 viewers. I keep posting content. I keep going live, and nothing is changing. I keep learning, and the only link I have is $1. $1 of 1 million. And I don't have new subscribers. I don't have new followers. I don't have viewers, bro. What's going on? Okay, I'm going to post the blog of the day. So that's all for now, all for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that a lot. We'll learn important things: how to market, how to PR your business, how to market. Three important points: know who your customer is. I know who is my customer. Build a staircase. Number 3, systems. Build systems. In the point number 2, how to PR your business, I write 4 things. 1, targeting. 2, Twitter in particular is really good to get hold of journalists. So that's the most important lesson I learned. Twitter in particular is really good to get hold of journalists. That's the most important part. Point number 3, engage, build relationships yourself. Point number 4, don't be lazy. And point number 5, be disciplined. So at this point, I need to be more disciplined. I need to create more content. That's why I started blogging my life every day, to be disciplined and know why things are working and why not. So that's why I'm blogging my life every day, to be disciplined and to know what is working, what this video got 500,000 views or something like that, and understanding that. So that was what I learned today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate that. And see you tomorrow. I will try to be more disciplined. And I'm going to post the blog of the day. So I'm posting a blog every day. Today is blog number 5. Thank you so much. And see you tomorrow. One life, one shot.